A single exchange in a Senate hearing just exposed something Washington would rather keep vague. Not the usual back and forth about rates, not the technocratic jargon. Power. Because when a bank can shut you out of the financial system for reputational risk, that isn't just compliance, that's control. And what you're about to hear isn't a partisan soundbite. It's a warning about who gets to decide what counts as acceptable in America and who gets quietly erased.
We'll start our questions this morning with Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that courtesy. Madam Vice Chair, credit should be given when it is due. I remember, 3 or 4 years ago, Chairman Powell and others were giving a report on the economy. Inflation was 9%. Was gutting the American people like a fish. Stevie Wonder could have seen it coming. President Biden asked, and Congress consented, I didn't, that we start spending money like it had the value of Louisiana ditch water. Had President Biden, had we discovered life on Mars when President Biden was president, he would have sent it money, immediately. And I remember the Federal Reserve represented by Chairman Powell sitting here, and we're talking about what to do about it. And he explained his plans, and in so many words, I said, not going to work. I've read the white papers. You can get inflation down, but we're going to have to suffer unemployment of 7, 8, 9%. It didn't happen, did it? We had a soft landing. And the Federal Reserve was in part responsible, in the best sense of the word, for that. And we don't applaud that enough. And we can debate whether the chairman and the vice chairman and others should raise or lower interest rates, and what we should do about quantitative easing and how many economists can dance on the head of the pin. But it's a fact. We had a soft landing. Thank God for it. Now, inflation is not down where we want, but 2.7% is a hell of a lot better than 9% without having to suffer 7, 8, 9, 10% unemployment and the human misery that goes with it. So the Fed did something right. On the other hand, what in God's name was the Fed and some of your other agencies thinking when you allowed banks to debank customers for reputational risk? Are you kidding me? Why did you allow that to happen? Because you didn't like their politics. Or you didn't like the products they made. I mean, do you think it would be fair? Senator Warren's not here, so I hesitate to talk about it. Senator Warren was a distinguished professor at Harvard University. Some people don't like Harvard. Some people don't like their politics. How could you possibly allow a bank to have the option? I'm not saying they did it, but to debank someone like Senator Warren, I'm using her as a hypothetical example, because you didn't like her politics. And you can say the same thing about gun manufacturers and oil and gas and anybody you don't like, and you let the banks do it. What in God's name were y'all thinking, Madam Vice Chair?
Well, Senator, I appreciate your concerns and I share them. I was not the vice chair at the time
I know that.
decisions were made.
But your institution went along with it. The banks proposed it, and your institution sucked it up like a Hoover Deluxe.
In my view, debanking is never an appropriate activity. It is, every American in this country should have access to financial services, and they should not be limited from access to those services based on their political, religious beliefs, or their engagement in a particular business that may be disfavored but is legally
Let me tell you, folks, this isn't over yet. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Watch what Kennedy does first. He opens with praise, real praise for the Fed's soft landing. He even admits he expected pain. 7, 8, 9% unemployment. It didn't happen. Inflation came down without crushing jobs. That matters because it tells you this isn't a guy who walked in just to perform. Then he pivots. Hard. Reputational risk. 2 words that sound boring until you realize they can mean anything. And when a standard can mean anything, it can be used for everything. But let's confront the reality head on. If you can be debanked because your beliefs might embarrass someone, then your rights don't disappear with a court order. They disappear with a compliance memo. Notice how Kennedy frames it. He doesn't defend one industry. He doesn't defend one tribe. He names gun manufacturers, oil and gas, and then, strategically, he uses Elizabeth Warren as the hypothetical victim. Why? Because he's forcing the principle into the open. Today it's those people, tomorrow it's you. And if this system is wrong, it's wrong no matter whose account gets closed. Now listen to Bowman's response. She says she shares the concern. She says she wasn't vice chair when decisions were made. And she says the right thing in theory. Every American should have access to financial services, and nobody should be locked out for politics or religion or for doing something legal. That sounds comforting. But ask yourself what she didn't say. She didn't say who, specifically, decided reputational risk should justify cutting people off. She didn't say what guidance went out to examiners. She didn't say what due process exists for ordinary Americans. How you appeal, how you get reinstated, how you clear your name when a bank labels you too risky to serve. And she didn't say whether anyone will be held accountable when regulators create a climate where banks feel safer dropping customers than defending them. This isn't just about banking. It's about the new way power operates in America. The government doesn't have to ban you. It just has to nudge the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers don't have to call it discrimination. They just have to call it risk. And suddenly your ability to participate in modern life, payroll, payments, mortgages, business accounts, becomes a privilege you keep only if you stay quiet and stay approved. That's why this moment matters. Because if reputation becomes the standard, then politics becomes the weapon. And if politics becomes the weapon, then freedom becomes conditional. So here's the question for every viewer, left, right, or indifferent. Do you want a country where your bank account depends on your viewpoint? If not, don't let this fade into a clip. Share this, subscribe, and tell your senators. Write clear rules. No debanking without cause, transparency, and a real appeal process. Kennedy ended with, "This isn't over yet." He's right.